Hi, this is for my small group communication class. My name is Professor Barry Brennan, and today I'm going to talk about small group communication, basically give you an overview and an understanding for how we discuss and relate to the small group and the importance of the small group in your life, and to consider that all of us came from a small group. So let's get to it. I'm going to go straight to the PowerPoint and let's go. And I will be going over in the corner in a second. There we go. Okay. So I'm there in the right-hand corner. We're going to be looking at this PowerPoint. Overview of the small group. So when we're talking about a small group, I want you to think about your first group that you were in as a baby or as a child. Like, what did that look like? Picture that in your mind, okay? That group shaped your identity. It shaped how you think about life. It shaped your communication with others. That small group, even if that small group changed, right? If your parents were divorced, or one of your parents died, or your parents, you got put into foster care, or you had the same parents, all the different versions of this, right? That small group shaped how you communicate with others and shaped how you relate to others. So just keep that in mind as we talk about the small group. Okay, small groups in our lives. I want you to keep this in mind as we talk about, and you've thought about what your small group looks like, right? I want you to think about other small groups, other forms of family. Usually we call it a family. The first small group in our life was our family, whatever that looked like. And I've given you all these different versions of family because there are so many versions of what we consider to be family now, right? Who has a family? Whether it's opposite sex relationships or same sex relationships, interracial relationships, different ages, right? Encompassing if it's a family that includes grandparents or aunts and uncles. So when we think of family, there are lots of versions of family. Keep this in mind as you begin to relate with others, your other peers in your small group, that their family may be a completely different experience than the kind of family that you grew up in. We are genetically coded. I move my little face down there. We're genetically coded to be in a small group. We are, that's who we are. You know, we're not little lemurs. But I love this picture because it really shows that not only are we genetically coded, we're like other mammals and other animals. I mean, you could think of the animal kingdom, right? Think of like, I like to watch orcas. They're fascinating me. They live in a pod. The mother takes care of them. They all stay together. They hunt together. They stay together. That's a family unit. Wolves are the same way. They call it a pack, but truly it's a family unit that consists of generally a mother and father and aunts and uncles and sisters and brothers. And the pack becomes, usually they have some relationship to each other. Sometimes there's a member that comes, a wolf that comes from a different pack and ends up mating with one of the other ones. But still, it's an extended family. We are genetically coded to be with others. That's who we are. We can't survive with other people. The idea that, that saying, no man is an island, it's true because we're coded to be with other people. We are coded to be in relationship with other people. Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. So I'm going to show you a couple different theories. This is the first theory that I'm going to talk about. If you have been taking psychology classes, if you took it in high school or if you already take it in college, you're familiar with Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. Abraham Maslow was a sociologist, and he posited that in order to meet our highest need, that's what we as human beings that we're after. We're after this idea of self-actualization. That's number 5 at the top of the pyramid. And he saw it as a pyramid. They give like steps or a pyramid or, it's a goal. that self-actualization is actually when we have complete, and let me just say this, it can change, it could fluctuate, but when we have a sense of self-acceptance, not just self-love and care, but a sense of self-acceptance, accepting where we're at, accepting, feeling good about ourselves, even in feeling good about ourselves in our imperfection. Okay, that is self-actualization, where we feel like we have arrived and we're continuing to arrive at the place that we want to be, happy with our lives, internal contentment, ultimately as human beings. And it's not about what's on the outside, it's about how we feel in here, in our heart. Okay, in our heart, in our soul, whatever you believe in, right? It's how we feel in here, we feel inside ourselves. Now, in order to get there, we have to have these physiological needs met. Physiological needs means we have to have food, we have to have shelter, right? That's going to go into safety too, but we have to have food, shelter, we have to have some clothing. We have to have our basic physiological means physical and psychological needs met. Okay, I haven't said anything about being with other people. It's not about that yet. This is just about our physiological needs being met. Okay, we have to have that first. I want you to think about if you had a childhood where your physiological needs weren't met, and what happened for you. Then the second need we have to have met is called safety. Notice it comes afterwards. Safety has to do with a structure, a place to live, a sense of that we have a place to go where we feel safe. So it's not just shelter, but it's housing, it's financial security, knowing that there's money coming in, there's money available to us, right? It could be employment. It provides a sense of safety, right? So it could be if you're a child, your parents are employed. So first we have to be able to have something to eat, and we have to be able to be clothed, and then we have to have a sense of safety, like everything's going to be all right. We're not going to get in terms of a sense of contentment in ourselves unless we have that met. Then we look for a sense of belonging. Generally, safety and belonging come together, but belongingness comes afterwards. We can't build upon relationships if we're constantly in a state of fear. Our relationships are going to be disjointed and disconnected. Well, once we have some safety net, which comes with a place to live and some food, ability to have food, and a little bit of security, then we're able to, this is what Maslow's saying, then we're able to have a sense of belonging. We feel like we belong in a family, we belong in a friendship, in a community, friendship circle, in a community. We belong maybe to our church. That's where we start extending. We start trusting people, right? So with that, then we're able to have a sense of esteem. Remember, communication is the driver of all relationship. So here you are in communication, having relationship with others through starting again with your small group, extending outward. And then you're able to have a sense of, because people mirror back to you who you are, right? How they value you. You start to feel a sense of esteem. You start to feel a sense of value, that you can do things. And you do, if you want a self-esteem, there's a saying that says, do esteemable acts. So you start to feel like you matter, you're important. And then are able to go after things like be in college, right? Go after the career that you want. Why? Because you believe that you deserve it. You believe that you value it. And you also believe this, even more important, you believe you have something to give, right? You're in college not just to get, you're in college to give, right? What do you have to give? What gift do you have to give? That's esteem. And once start doing that, you come to the pinnacle of where you feel a sense of contentment, right? You're doing what you believe in. You're living the life that you want. And that doesn't mean it's perfect. It just means you feel okay about yourself, right? That's what we're all after. And that's what Maslow says, that theory that we have to meet these needs in this order. And you could have like lack contentment. What if something happens and you feel like it really hits your self-esteem? You're not going to feel content anymore. And you might go back to the third need where you focus on your belongingness to feel like you belong again. So it doesn't mean like you arrive and you're done. But he's basically saying it's layered. Like you got to have these first couple needs met before you can try to meet this other need. Okay. Next. Participation in a small group has two functions, right? You're going to hear me say this over and over again. There's two reasons why we're in a small group. You can also even think about this in terms of your family. It is to establish and maintain relationships, right? Communication is a driver of all relationships, and it's to get something done. So we're there to, in your case, you're going to accomplish a task. That will be how you get together, is to accomplish a task when I put you in a small group. And then from that, you're going to establish relationships with people. You're going to develop some kind of relationship with them. What type of relationship with that person, with your peer, with the other students in your group will depend upon you. I'm going to keep saying this. You got to give to get. You want relationships with people, you got to give it. So, two functions of a small group is to accomplish a task, and establish and maintain relationships. Let's look at the small group work versus individual work, so we understand how it is different and what benefits we get from working in a small group versus what benefits we receive from working as an individual. So in a small group, the reason why the small group works better than working individually is if you have a complex problem. If you have a complex problem, then just think about why that is. If you have a complex problem, you want a lot of minds involved, not just your own mind, so you can get more ideas and more opinions and more talents, right? People who have talents in certain areas, so they have a way of seeing. Remember we talked about all the different forms of a small group or a family, what a family looks like? Everyone's life experience contributes to how they pursue things, how they perceive things. And so the small group, when you have a complex problem or complex task, you want more people involved you benefit from that than just having one person work on it. Another thing is time is not limited. So time, when you think of your family, right? When you all have to sit down, if you've ever had to sit down and talk about a problem or how you're going to tackle this or a decision you need to make as a family, it takes time, right? Because needs to be heard. Everyone has a voice. If we're all like talking, you're going to sit around and wait for everyone to talk about things. Some people go off on tangents. So it takes time. So you need to have unlimited time. So essentially you're going to have unlimited time. There's limits, right? Because we're only in class for so many months. But it's unlimited. You don't have to get it done in an hour. Okay. The thing about a small group too is you can come up with more than one solution, right? You have more than one person involved in creating the solution. And if you have a task that's complex, it means the variety of solutions or variety of ways of approaching it are there. So if there is more than one acceptable solution, having more minds involved is going to be a positive, beneficial thing. Also, if you are working in a small group and you have to bring this solution to, let's say, your superiors or people in authority or someone you're working for, oftentimes as you get into the workforce, different groups might be appointed to work with these other people in a particular problem. And then as a group, you'll have to bring that solution to maybe your superior or your supervisor. Benefit of working in a small group is they know that a whole bunch of minds were involved, as opposed to an individual who might have just come up with themselves. You actually think that people value small group work in many ways more, especially if the situation is complex. They're going to value that solution more because they know that more minds were at work at that. We're going to stop here, and I'm going to pick up on individual benefits.